So, are you ready to uncover your dark side and discover who you really are? Continue on watching. Hi beautiful souls, welcome to my channel, My Cup of Dreams. My name is May and I help you find your bliss. Today's topic is about shadow work. Shadow work is a term that is often used in the realm of the law of attraction. And it basically means that that there's a shadow side to us in our subconscious mind that we cannot see, but it is there and it's kind of holding us back. When we feel pain, it's something that is behind that pain. And it's trying to show itself, it's trying to get into the light, but we are repressing it because it's so painful. The shadow part of us wants to be integrated by us again. And the beautiful thing is when we have integrated this part in our life and in our heart again, we are able to be fully ourselves and be truly blissful and happy. I heard about shadow work for the very first time in 2019. I just got out of this relationship of 13 years and I quickly met someone new with whom I had a lot of fun. I got to know this person pretty well and he somewhat pushed me to be more open, to be more expressive about who I was. And this has made me learn a lot about myself. The thing was that this thing that was going on between us was just for fun for him, so he didn't feel the same way about me, and I was hoping that he would eventually develop some feelings for me, but then that didn't happen and it ended up pretty badly. The thing was, I was in a lot of pain. I didn't know why. I tried to understand what were the reasons why he wouldn't fall for me. And the weird thing was that I kind of knew this wasn't about him because I wasn't that much into him. There was this weird obsession of wanting him to have these feelings for me, to have a certain validation. And so I started to look things up. I got curious about this feeling. It hurt badly and I got very curious about it. So I looked it up and eventually I came across the word shadow work and I wanted to know more about it. And in a video I've seen from Teal Swan, she explained that you have to go back to the very first moment you felt it. And I'm going to walk you through how I did my shadow work. So I was sitting there meditating and I was trying to conjure the feeling that I had with this guy. What was it that I felt? And so sometimes it is hard to say what we are actually feeling. We just know it's unpleasant and painful, but we don't really know what it is. At that point, I realized that it was rejection. And I tried to feel deeply and deeply what it was why it was that I wanted so badly for him to validate me, for him to fall for me. And I've realized that I've had this feeling way before, when I was a little child. I remember distinctly that when I was little, I was being yelled at by an adult and they were telling me, you are such a naughty, bad child. If anyone would find out who you are and how you are, no one will ever love you. And this was a very painful experience because while I was doing this meditation, I was visualizing myself as the child again, and I was feeling this pain, this utter abandonment and rejection. And I realized that I've come to believe that if I truly am myself, no one will ever love me. And this is why my entire life I have been adapting myself to different people. I have been trying to adapt myself so that I could please the people around me. And just knowing this is, just being aware of this is already a huge step forward. But being aware of it is not enough to make this pain go away or make this belief go away. To do so, you need to do the shadow work or the inner child work. And this means that while I'm visualizing this, I allow myself to feel it completely. I allow myself to feel this pain and the rejection and the disappointment. And then I take a step back. I step out of this visualization. And when I go back in, I have this intention to go back in as an adult, as a third person witnessing the whole scene. And so I visualized again, I got into my adult self, and then I went back in that memory, seeing that child crying. And it is a very, very emotional process, seeing your younger self cry. And so I got closer to her and I wanted to give her what she needed. So I held her in my arms and I told her that it wasn't true, that she's an amazing human being and that she is extraordinary, and that I promise I would always take care of her, and that I promise I will always be there for her. And at that moment it was very emotional. I was tearing up very badly, and I really felt that little child in my arms, as if I was accepting that part of myself again, as if I was reprogramming my subconscious mind to say that I am worthy, and that when people would find out who I am, they would like me for who I am, and if they don't, that's fine too. But I had to go through that process. And so after I held the child in my arms and that I said those things, all of those things to her, I asked her what she wanted to do, whether she wanted to come with me, and she said yes. So I then took her out of that memory then and there. And I have done that for several painful scenes in my past. And now sometimes I still visualize myself going to a safe place and seeing all those younger versions of myself and being very in tune and in harmony with these parts of myself. And it's what Teal Swan calls the integration. She has a whole book written about this process, which is called the completion process. But there are several other techniques to do this. And I realized that this process is a very it's a very deep process, and sometimes we might be discouraged to do it alone. And you don't have to do it alone. There's nothing to be ashamed about. You can definitely do this with a psychologist or with a coach. There are many different techniques to do this inner child work. It depends on what works for you. So I definitely recommend you doing that. Now, it's not because you've done this shadow work that you are done with it, that you are now so-called healed and that you can now go forward in life without any difficulties at all. The funny thing about shadow work is that a lot of it you don't know about. So you might be aware of a couple of things and you might do your shadow work on that. There's a lot you're not aware of. And that's the beautiful thing. When you progress in life, you will discover more and more and more shadows. And each time you will be able to integrate yet another part of yourself. And it feels, when you're going through the process, it's obviously painful because you have to go through it again. But afterwards, it feels like completion. It feels like wholeness. It feels like seeing someone again, holding someone again that you haven't seen for a very long time, that you've forgotten about. but you dearly love them. And this is something that helps you love yourself more. It is something that helps you love each part of yourself. And this is why whenever I have bad emotions coming up, I feel bad about it, obviously, but I also get very curious about it, because I'm always wondering which part of myself am I going to be able to find again. And I get pretty excited about that. Now, let's be clear on this matter. I'm not saying this to diss the adult who said those unkind words to me. I know that we are all people, we're human, and that we make mistakes in our past. I get along with them very, very well. I love them dearly. So it's not something I am telling to diss them. Absolutely not, because I love them very much. But I have to admit that in the past, there was always this underlying anger that I had towards them, that I didn't know what it was. And it doesn't feel good to be, like being on the edge all the time, to be angry all the time. That made me feel pretty bad about myself, and I felt like I was a bad person because I was continuously angry with them. And people change throughout the time, and even if they hurt you in the past, they might be very good people now. They've also changed, but it doesn't mean that the feelings that you've had when that moment occurred are not valid, as stupid as you may think it is. Because sometimes when we hear something as an adult, we think, that wasn't that bad. But for a child, it can be traumatizing, because I've once heard this before, that because the skull of a child is not fully hard before they turn 7 or 8, everything that comes through emotion-wise is very strong. It's tenfold. We feel it so much stronger. So don't judge yourself for feeling that, and allow yourself to feel that pain, because it's there to teach you something. So when should you do shadow work? Shadow work, you can do it every time you feel an unpleasant emotion coming up for something, and that you're telling yourself, oh, stop being silly. Why am I feeling this way? It's utterly ridiculous. But when we find ourselves asking questions such as, why am I always like this? Why am I always reacting like this? Why can't I laugh freely? Why am I always on my guard? Why can't I trust people? And these are all questions that are very interesting. And in order to find an answer to that, in order to find an answer to those questions, you need to be brave enough to face those feelings. And as I said before, you don't have to do it alone. You can look for a therapist or a coach who can guide you through it. There are many different techniques, such as EMDR, inner child work, whatever you choose. But it is a gift that you give yourself to dive deep into that, to get to know yourself and to find those parts of yourself again. So I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And as I always like to say, follow your bliss, because that's where you'll find your answers. Have a lovely week. Bye.